Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the Raiders OTA news that you need to know, and then the biggest storylines to follow during OTA practices. So the way that OTA practices work are a little bit weird because they're not like back-to-back-to-back-to-back. You get 10 days in the NFL. The Raiders get 10 days. So we'll kind of break down what those dates are. But if you're looking for OTA news, if you're looking for updates around Raiders practice, I promise you this, we're going to be keeping you guys up to date. Any day that they practice, you will get the top things that you need to see. And I know that in May, June, July, it can be a little bit slow for Raiders content. I will get you guys a video every single day here. That I can promise you. So subscribe so you don't miss anything. So some of the OTA things to know are the Raiders practice dates are May 20th, May 21st, May 23rd, the 28th and 29th, and then June 3rd through June 6th. So again, you get 10 days to conduct the OTAs, the practices. It is no live contact, but 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills are permitted. So like what I really like to look at this is a lot of competition battles, maybe which players are starting to stand out, building some connections with the coaching staff, and realistically, just which guys are shining above and beyond. That's a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for. I'll also admit, though, storyline number 5, the final one that I have on today's show, is going to be a very, very sneaky one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Let's go to the number 1 storyline that the people are going to be talking about for Raiders OTA. It's obvious. It is the quarterback battle between Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell for that starting job. AP said that AOC is going to get the first snap, and it was always the expectation that Aidan was going to end up getting that first snap, even if they would have drafted a quarterback high. Antonio Pierce Tom Telesco said that Aidan O'Connell has earned that right. However, the Raiders did go out. You signed Minshew to a 2-year, $25 million deal, $15 million guaranteed. They were rumored and speculated to try to trade up into the top 3 of the NFL draft. Both guys are going to be learning a brand new offense with Luke Getsy. Both guys are, in general, are going to be learning a lot of new stuff this offseason. When you look at their numbers from last season on a per-game basis, now the Aidan O'Connell stats on the left are his numbers based on when he was with Antonio Pierce, so a 9-game sample size. The Gardner Minshew stats on the right are in the games that he started, and again, per game stats. Very, very similar from top to bottom. The QBRs, the touchdowns, the yards. It's going to be a really, really fun competition, no doubt about it. When you take those numbers and then you put them as a 17-game projection, this is what those numbers end up spitting out at. And I know a lot of people are wondering what the Raiders quarterback room is going to look like. And realistically, if the Silver and Black have any chances to make the playoffs, you need both of these guys to play way better than what they did last season. Because I'm sorry, Aidan O'Connell put up these numbers, you're not winning 8 games. Gardner Minshew putting up these numbers, I don't think you're winning 8 games. You need these guys to play at another level. So no matter what, we need that extra quarterback competition. It's going to make everybody better. But my question is not who's the best, not who's going to be the week 1 starter. Who are you rooting for? And I think this is an okay question because at the end of the day, I want Raider fans to be Raider fans. And part of being a fan sometimes is rooting for a certain player that you want to win a battle. So are you rooting for Aidan O'Connell or are you rooting for Gardner Minshew? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. I want you to scroll on down and give me an answer. My answer is going to be coming up after this YouTube ad break. I know a lot of people expected me to say Gardner Minshew, but that's not true at all. In fact, it's the furthest thing from the truth. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit who wins this quarterback battle. If anything, I can make an argument that it's probably better for the Raiders if Aidan wins the quarterback battle because that means he's outshining Gardner Minshew, and then that just has more trade value for Minshew in next offseason. Where if Minshew wins this battle and Aidan O'Connell's the backup, he doesn't have as much trade value then. In fact, he doesn't really have anything. So, I just want Minshew or Aidan O'Connell to be whoever the hell the best quarterback is that gives us the best chance to win. That is the only thing that I care about. So I'm rooting for both guys. Let's go to the storyline number 2 here. Lots and lots of competition on that offensive line. Telesco has said over and over again that he really wants to win in the trenches, and I freaking love that. And they're trying to win on both the offense and on the defensive side of the football. And I want to know who the starters are when they open up OTAs. Not how they finish. I will be curious how they finish, giggity, but I also want to see how it ends up starting out on top of that. Also, the amount of competition with this offensive line going up against that defensive line, really fun battles from top to bottom. This is the projected starting offensive line that I have for the Silver and Black. Colton Miller at left tackle, Jackson Powers-Johnson at left guard, Andre James at center, Dylan Parham at right guard, Thayer Munford at right tackle. But when you look at this Raiders offensive line from top to bottom, I mean, what is Delmar Glaze going to be looking like? Is he going to be playing guard? Do they have him working out there at right tackle? What about Andres Pete, who Antonio Pierce says is going to be working predominantly on the left side at left guard, back up to Colton Miller? How do some of these other players like Cody Whitehair, where's he getting his snaps in? Are they moving Jackson Powers-Johnson to right guard? Are they moving Dylan Parham to right guard and left guard? A lot of moving pieces on this offensive line. And if I'm going to sit up here and say that I think our biggest weakness as a team is quarterback, and I also think one of our weakest position groups, if not our weakest position group, is running back, the O-line is extremely, extremely important if we want to get the ball into the hands of Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and a lot of these skill position players that this team does truly have. Before I get into the storyline number 3, man, I got to give a shout out to Chubby's. I freaking love Chubby's. Chubby's is an awesome company run by really freaking cool dudes, and I'm just going to be real. If you like Chugs and I, then you're going to love Chubby's, because what they do, the people that they are, I really want to support companies that I think also reflect who I am as a human being and what I value. Sky's out, thighs out. Shout out to Chubby's for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Summer is right around the corner, and our friends at Chubby's are bringing the good vibrations. Chubby's is a lifestyle apparel brand that makes every moment feel like a vacation. They say fashion is an expression of one's character, so why not let the world know you're down for a good time? For a limited time, Chubby's is giving our listeners 20% off your order with our exclusive code CHAT. Use code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com/chat. Chubby's offers a variety of high-quality men's apparel, from super stretchy shorts and swim trunks in 3 short inseam lengths to pants, polos, and button-down shirts for when you need to hit up your favorite weekend brunch spot. Embrace the spirit of endless summer with Chubby's, the ultimate destination for bold, vibrant, and outrageously comfortable clothing. Whether you're getting dressed for your workday, a workout, or a weekend getaway, Chubby's has you covered. For a limited time, Chubby's is giving our viewers 20% off your order with code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com/chat. That's code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com/chat. Support our show and tell them that we sent you. Don't blend in with the crowd. Stand out with Chubby's. I also get asked a lot of time, Mitch, what about the length of these shorts? They have shorts that are 7 inches, 5.5, and then the 4-inch ones. I'll be real with you. The 4-inch ones are a little bit short, but I do have a few swim trunks that I have that are the 4-inch seams. I would only wear those for Wasted, just for him to call me Sugar Slack. So, I love Chubby's. I love their swim trunks. I love a lot of their shirts that they have on top of that. As you can see, Chuck liked them as well. So if you want to go get started with our sponsor, link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description. Can I get wasted in a pair of 4-inch Chubby shorts? That's my challenge for this offseason. Let's go to storyline number 3. Is Tyree Wilson working with both the defensive ends and defensive tackles? I think a lot of people watching this show, I think a lot of people that rock the shield are anticipating that the Raiders' first-round pick last year, number 7 overall out of Texas Tech, Tyree, is going to end up playing defensive end and defensive tackle. The problem is, what if that's not the plan for Antonio Pierce? What if that's not the plan for Patrick Graham? The Raiders decided they would spend a lot of money at DT with Christian Wilkins. You brought back Adam Butler. You brought back John Jenkins. And yeah, you also have Malcolm Kuntz. So, where exactly are all of these guys going to go? And I know a lot of people were they didn't love what Wilson did last season. 484 snaps. You can look at the PFF grades. But I was also the person that stood up here and said, it's not fair to judge Wilson based off of how he played last season, because, quite frankly, the Raiders didn't really want to play him. They were hoping that he would be able to rest for most of the first half of the season. They were relying on Chandler Jones to not go literally insane, and then that forced Wilson to be put into a situation that, quite frankly, he wasn't healthy or ready for. And I know that he played the inside and the outside on the defensive line, and I do think that he's going to end up doing it again. But what I'm really, really hoping for is people counted out Malcolm Kuntz last season. People just thought he was an afterthought. I'm hoping that Wilson takes that step forward like you saw Malcolm Kuntz do, and he can just compete with a little bit more, depth for this team, especially at defensive end, because outside of Kuntz and Crosby, there was a lot of major question marks in that Raiders defensive end group. Luckily, the interior line is where I really think the Raiders are going to benefit from. And even though the defensive ends are kind of weak, I just think that the Raiders are going to be really smart here, and they're going to just rotate a bunch of their defensive tackles to potentially maybe even play defensive end at times. Tyree Wilson being one of those guys. You could also see, I think Patrick Graham loves the 5-man front, which you go 5-man front, you have 2 linebackers, and you drop back the 4 guys into coverage. I just know that the injured foot slowed him down last season, and as the year went on, you could see him get better and better, get stronger and stronger, and I'm really hoping this offseason, because he lives close to here in Dallas. He's now in Vegas. He's been working out with Crosby a lot. I'm hoping Crosby whips him into shape, but if Tyree Wilson breaks out, I'm not afraid to say it, and I mean, I've said it before. I expect the Raiders to have a top 5 defense. Like, I legitimately do. If Tyree takes a step the way that Malcolm Kuntz did, I think that this could be the best defense in the National Football League. Let's go to storyline number 4, and there's a lot to break down here, and let's just face it. One of the top things that every single Raiders fan, every NFL fan around the league is going to be looking at is how do their rookies stack up? Because, you know, you can go to rookie minicamp, right? And rookie minicamp's fun and all, and Brock Bowers is probably going up against some of those guys in rookie minicamp being like, they're not very good. Now you're going to be going up against the big boys. What does Brock look like next to Jacoby Myers? What does Brock Bowers look like next to a guy like Michael Mayer, Devontae Adams? Who does he like the most from a quarterback standpoint? Because I could sit up here all I want and say that Gardner Minshew is a better quarterback than Aidan O'Connell, which I do think so. However, what if Aidan's able to execute the offense better and has a better rapport with these players? And what if one of those guys is Brock Bowers? Because I want to see how they line him up at tight end. I want to see how they line up both Mayer, Bryant, and Bowers all on the line, and then I want to see what they do at the wide receiver spot. You went out, you recently added Michael Gallup, Jalen Guyton. I anticipate that Bowers is going to play a lot out of the slot. He played 52% of his snaps at Georgia out of the slot. I am excited to see these skill position players, but I am also excited to see which skill position players are meshing best with these offensive players. So out of all the rookies from top to bottom, if you don't know who they are, Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers-Johnson, DJ Glaze, we got the Camryn Richardson, Tommy Eichenberg, Dylan Laube, MJ Devonshire, and then also Trey Taylor. Out of those rookies, which one are you the most excited to watch at OTA practice? Let me know down below. I think one of the players that I am really hyped up to watch is this guy, Jackson Powers-Johnson, and maybe it's not the guy that's the number one, for me, the number one player that I'm the most excited to watch outside of Brock Bowers is probably Camryn Richardson, but I want to see how Jackson Powers-Johnson stacks up against the defensive tackles. And again, there's not a lot of contact, but still, I want to see competition. Does this kid have the balls to go up against Christian Wilkerson? Does he have the balls to go up against Max Crosby and give 100% effort? Because he's going to have to do it. But at this point in the practice season, we'll see. Delmar Glaze, where do they line him up necessarily? Like, are they going to put him on the left side, on the right side? I anticipate that he's going to be predominantly on the right side, considering AP said that Andres Pete's going to be on the left side. And to me, their plan is going to be Delmar's the backup right side guy. You got Cody Whitehair as the backup interior guard center, and then Andres Pete's the backup left tackle, left guard dude. The Camryn Richardson, another corner that we're going to be looking at, and out of all these players, where I know I talked about Tyree Wilson being able to take our defense to the next level, I have already heard from multiple people that Camryn Richardson's going to be the best steal of our draft this year. And maybe it's just because Raider fans are hoping that it's the 4th round pick like a Max Crosby, but the length, the athletic ability, and the fit that's going to be with our defense is something that I'm going to watch. Him up against Jacorian Bennett, him up against Brandon Basin, up against MJ Devonshire. A lot of battles going down there in the cornerback room. Tommy Eichenberg, another linebacker that AP said could potentially wear a green dot. I don't think that he meant that he's going to wear a green dot this year, but he did say this offseason, Eichenberg, green dot, same sentence. That is a huge compliment for a rookie linebacker. And when you look at a lot of the skill sets that Robert Spillane had in a career year, Pro Bowl year essentially, then Eichenberg is kind of like the spitting image of him. I want to see how many linebackers they end up keeping on this roster. I anticipate that they're going to keep 4. Maybe they end up keeping 5, but a lot of battles there. Next guy is Dylan Laube, and Fun running back out of New Hampshire. Where does he stack up next to a guy like Amir Abdullah? What if Laubie's really freaking good? What if he's a young Austin Eckler? Pushes a guy like Alexander Madison. What if he can show that he can pass block, that he can go out there and be just a reliable running back, not only in the pass game, but also between the tackles? I think the other fun part to watch is where exactly does he fit in special teams, because I know that he is going to get some special teams run. Is he better than a Trey Tucker, Amir Abdullah? And if Laubie can really go out there and show this coaching staff that he can get it done, this might hurt Amir Abdullah's chances of making this roster. Let's go to the 7th-round rookie, Trey Taylor, who won the Best Defensive Back in the Country award. When you watch his tape, you're like, yeah, this guy probably shouldn't have went in the 7th round. But then also when you watch his tape, it's like, it's not great against pass coverage. My number one thing that I want to see with Trey Taylor, and where it's going to speak volumes to me, because Raider fans got really mad at me back in 2019 when I started watching Jonathan Abram tape. I started getting some notes on how he looked in practice, and everyone was like, great athlete. Can't cover. If I get the same notes, because that's my worry, and again, 7th round to 1st round, very, very big difference, but I want to see how Trey Taylor can stack up in terms of pass coverage in the NFL, because I know he can hit. I know he's going to be able to play special teams, but can he cover? That's the biggest question at safety. Let's go to the final pick that the Raiders had in the 2024 NFL Draft, MJ Devonshire, cornerback out of Pittsburgh, and I actually have some people that know Devonshire well from the Pennsylvania area. One of my really good buddies, he's a scout in the Northeast area, and was like, dude, hell of an athlete. You guys got a hell of a freaking football player here, but like, how good does that athletic ability translate here? I'm hoping Devonshire, not going to say makes the leap like Nate Hobbs did, but Nate Hobbs is a late-round pick that not a lot of people thought all that much about, but he showed his athletic ability. I'm really, really hoping Devonshire shows how athletic he truly is. Let's go to the 5th and final storyline, and kind of the storyline that I might be, outside of the quarterback, the most interested in, right? Because I'm the guy that I like rumors, I like speculation, and I always wonder, are the Raiders going to do something? My question is, will the Raiders sign a free agent that can start for them after the Jimmy G money? And if you're like, Mitch, what the hell's the Jimmy G money? Do you guys remember? Jimmy Garoppolo. He was a post-June 1st cut. The Raiders are going to get $24.07, I rounded up, $24.1 million, as soon as June 2nd hits. So as soon as June 2nd hits, the Raiders get a little bit of extra dough. The Raiders, as it stands right now, have 90 players on the roster. They're allowed to have 91. Any NFL team that has an international pathway program player, for the Raiders, it's David Agoa, who just changed his number actually to 55. Shout out to David. And I mean, you're seeing a 55 jersey. I'm not going to lie. That just gives me Chandler Jones nervous vibes. I hope Agoa stays on the straight path. He's a good young kid. I've talked to him a few times. But they're allowed to have 91. The Raiders, as it stands right now, you got $18.4 million in cap space, which is the 14th most in the league. They get that 24.1. OTA practices, this is why this is important to me, June 3rd to the 6th. If I'm the Raiders, okay, if what I would do if I'm Antonio Pierce, if I'm Tom Telesco, and maybe it's what they're planning on doing, I'm rolling with the 90 players that you have on this roster. I'm going to give them 6 practice days. The 6 practice days, you see what they got. And then June 2nd hits. You have a little bit of a coaches meeting before that, and you go, where's our strengths? Where's our weaknesses? If you're seeing a lot of weaknesses in certain areas, you go out and sign a player to fill that void. If you have multiple weaknesses, maybe you need to sign multiple players. But to me, when you add the $18.4 million and the $24.1 million, that comes out to $42.5, which if that was the amount of money right now, there's going to be some other teams that probably get some June 1st money. I didn't do the math on those guys. That would be the 3rd most. My point is, the Raiders have more than enough money to go out and get multiple free agents, any big-name free agent that they want, and I would do it if you don't love, honestly, I would do it anyway, even after all those practices. Then you give that veteran maybe those 4 days to practice at OTAs. I'll be honest, they probably won't show up to the OTAs, but it's just a good little time to do some extra evaluating. Or you just say, you know what, we're going to roll with the 10 practices and then sign somebody after all those days, which honestly, if you're looking at any of the names on this sheet, all those players are not going to show up to OTAs. I'm just going to tell you that right now. The way that I would rank it for my free agent targets is based on how much money it would cost, also based on potential need for the silver and black, and this is 1 through 10. A lot of corners, which you see, I just threw Justin Simmons in here because he's probably the best player on this entire list, just not that big of a need for the Raiders. And then you see a lot of defensive ends, followed by a linebacker and Zach Cunningham. And I'm going to round out Patrick Peterson, who can play corner and he can play safety. If you made it this far in the video, I'm excited for OTA as well. I'm also going to do my best to put out some more content on social media like Instagram, Twitter, more news, more updates around the silver and black and all these things going on with practice. I'll do my best to put out some videos. I've actually had a few other Raiders beat reporters reach out to me asking me if I want to put out some of the videos that they get from practice. Bottom line, if you want to know everything going on around the Raiders and OTAs, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me on social media at Mitchell Renz 365.